How do you think Sammy should be remembered?
He's been nice and fluid. Huh? I say I'm getting the picture now.
Dave, you may be my leader, but I'm
Picture this. It's 1941, backstage at a Detroit theater. Two men share a sandwich during intermission. One is white, rising to stardom. The other is black, just 16 years old, fighting for his place in a world that doesn't want him. Nobody knows it yet, but this simple moment will spark one of Hollywood's most powerful friendships. It will also create one of its most controversial, Frank Sinatra and Sammy Davis Jr. Their bond will break barriers, challenge racism, and change Las Vegas forever. But it will also create whispers, rumors, and painful moments that test everything they believe about loyalty. For 50 years, they stand together through triumph and heartbreak, through career-ending fights and life-saving support, through moments when one man's power protects the other's dreams. The world watches, the press speculates, critics judge, but neither man explains what really happens between them. Then, in 1990, Davis dies. At his funeral, Sinatra says just one sentence, 11 words that silence every rumor, answer every question, and reveal the truth about their friendship. What did he say? And why did it take him 50 years to say it? This is the story of two men who refused to let the world decide their friendship, who chose loyalty over safety, respect over reputation, who proved that sometimes the most powerful bond forms in the most unlikely places. You're watching Retro Waves, where the true stories of music's greatest legends come alive. If you love uncovering the moments the world forgot, make sure you subscribe. Hit that notification bell because these stories don't just entertain, they change how you see the artists you thought you knew. Detroit, 1941. 16-year-old Sammy Davis Jr. steps off the stage, sweat still dripping from his performance with the Will Maston Trio. His heart pounds, not from dancing, but from fear. In segregated America, black performers live in constant danger. They perform for white audiences who cheer one moment and threaten the next. Hotels refuse them rooms. Restaurants won't serve them. Police harass them on empty roads between towns. Davis knows the rules. Stay quiet. Stay grateful. Never forget your place. But backstage at the Michigan Theater, something impossible happens. Frank Sinatra, the rising white star everyone's talking about, walks over. He sits down. He shares his sandwich. This doesn't happen in 1941. White stars don't eat with black teenagers. They don't ask about your family, your dreams, your fears about tomorrow. Davis goes home that night with more than just memories. He starts collecting every newspaper article about Sinatra. Not because of the fame, but because he sees something different. Sinatra commands respect. He speaks his mind. He controls his own destiny. Everything Davis wants but can't have. 3 years later, Davis gets drafted into the Army. If performing for racist audiences is hard, military service nearly destroys him. White soldiers beat him. Officers treat him like he's invisible. The hatred follows him everywhere. Davis survives by entertaining the troops, not for money, for protection. Every night he puts on a show, hoping his talent might shield him from tomorrow's violence. During those dark months, he watches one film over and over, The House I Live In. It stars Frank Sinatra, calling on Americans to end racial prejudice. The film wins an Oscar and becomes famous across the country. But for Davis, sitting alone in a segregated Army barracks, it feels like a personal message, like Sinatra is speaking directly to him, promising that someday things will change. When Davis returns to civilian life, the struggle continues. The Will Maston Trio performs in small clubs, fighting for recognition in a world that barely acknowledges their existence. Davis watches other black performers give up, broken by the constant rejection. He refuses to quit. Every night, he studies Sinatra's style, his walk, his clothes, his confidence. Not to copy him, but to learn what power looks like. Davis understands something crucial. Talent isn't enough. In racist America, you need more than skill to succeed. You need protection. You need an ally who can open doors that remain locked to people who look like you. The question haunts him every night. Will Frank Sinatra remember the kid who shared his sandwich? Will he care enough to help? For years, Davis performs in the shadows, waiting for his chance, The Will Maston Trio earns small bookings and smaller paychecks. Davis's family struggles to pay bills. Sometimes they can't afford hotels, sleeping in their car between shows, but Davis never stops believing. Every article he cuts out, every photo he saves, reminds him that somewhere out there, Frank Sinatra represents possibility, a future where talent matters more than skin color. The entertainment industry offers Davis nothing but closed doors and broken promises. Agents won't represent him, record labels won't sign him, movie studios won't audition him. He faces a choice: accept the limit society sets or risk everything for a dream that might destroy him. Davis chooses to dream, but dreams require more than hope. They require someone powerful enough to make them real. But then came the moment that changed everything. New York City, the Capitol Theater, one of America's most prestigious venues. Frank Sinatra stands at the peak of his fame, selling out shows across the country. Tonight he can choose any opening act in the entertainment world. He makes a phone call that shocks everyone. "I want the Will Maston Trio." The theater managers panic. A black opening act for Frank Sinatra? In 1947 New York? The audience might riot. Critics will attack. The risk seems enormous. Sinatra doesn't care. But here's what makes this moment legendary. He doesn't just book Davis. He demands the theater pay the trio 5 times their usual fee, 5 times what any black performer has ever earned at the Capitol Theater. The managers have no choice. They want Sinatra, so they accept his terms. This is fact, documented in theater records and newspaper accounts. But what happens next changes everything. The curtain rises. 3 black performers step onto a stage where they've never been welcome. The audience falls silent, not with respect, but with shock. Many have never seen black entertainers outside of segregated clubs. Then Davis begins to perform. He sings, he dances, he does impressions that leave the crowd breathless. His talent is so overwhelming that prejudice can't compete. By the end of their set, the audience is on its feet. White New Yorkers who came to see Sinatra find themselves cheering for Sammy Davis Jr. The reviews the next morning changed Davis's life forever. The New York Times calls him a performer of extraordinary gifts. Variety declares him a sensation. For the first time, mainstream white media recognizes his talent. But here's what matters most. Sinatra watches from the wings, smiling. He doesn't take credit. He doesn't make speeches about racial progress. He simply creates the opportunity and lets Davis's talent do the rest. Word spreads through the entertainment industry. Davis isn't just another black performer relegated to segregated clubs. He's a legitimate star, backed by Frank Sinatra himself. Booking agents start calling. Record producers express interest. For the first time in his life, Davis has choices. The breakthrough moment comes with a lesson that will define their entire relationship. Sinatra's power means nothing without Davis's talent, and Davis's talent means nothing without Sinatra's protection. This partnership isn't charity, it's recognition. Sinatra sees what the industry refuses to acknowledge, that Davis might be the most gifted performer of his generation. The Capitol Theater performance creates a new reality. Davis can now command decent fees, perform for mixed audiences, and dream of bigger stages. The invisible barriers haven't disappeared, but they've cracked. More importantly, Davis learns that he has an ally, someone willing to risk his own reputation to create opportunities, someone who sees potential where others see only problems. But this is just the beginning. The real test comes when Davis faces his darkest moment and discovers just how far Sinatra will go to protect their friendship. The 1950s explode with possibility. Davis transforms from unknown opening act to national sensation. His performances become legendary, singing, dancing, doing impressions, playing multiple instruments, all while captivating audiences who can't believe what they're witnessing. Critics run out of words to describe his talent. They call him the world's greatest entertainer. Fans line up for hours to see him perform. Record sales soar as Davis releases hit after hit. But success in racist America comes with a price tag that nearly destroys him. November 1954, Davis drives through the California desert, heading to a recording session. He's riding high, bookings sold out for months, a recording contract, dreams finally becoming reality. Then the crash happens. Davis wakes up in a hospital bed, his left eye gone forever. Doctors say he's lucky to be alive. But Davis doesn't feel lucky. He feels finished. The entertainment industry moves fast. 1 month away from performing can end a career. Davis has been unconscious for weeks, his face permanently changed. Who wants to book a one-eyed black entertainer? This is where the true nature of Sinatra's friendship reveals itself. First, Sinatra pays all the medical bills. This is documented fact. Hospital records show anonymous payments covering every expense. Davis has no insurance, no savings substantial enough for such catastrophic costs. Without Sinatra's intervention, the debt would destroy his family financially. But Sinatra does something more important than paying bills. He calls Davis personally. "Come to Palm Springs. Stay at my house as long as you need." Davis later says these words saved his life. "When I lost my eye, the first place I went was Frank's house because I had nowhere else to go." During those dark weeks in Palm Springs, Davis considers quitting. The physical pain combines with emotional devastation. He's spent years fighting for recognition, only to have it threatened by random tragedy. Sinatra doesn't give speeches about perseverance. He doesn't make promises about the future. He simply stays present, every day, reminding Davis that he still has friends, still has support, still has reason to hope. When Davis finally returns to performing months later, wearing his signature eye patch, something magical happens. Audiences don't see disability, they see courage. The eye patch becomes part of his mystique, making him more distinctive, more memorable. His first comeback performance sells out in hours. Reviews are more enthusiastic than ever. Davis doesn't just return to his previous success, he exceeds it. By the late 1950s, Davis commands top dollar at the biggest venues in America. He records hit songs, appears on television, and earns respect from critics who once ignored him. But the real breakthrough comes in Las Vegas. Vegas in the 1950s operates under strict segregation. Black performers can entertain white audiences, but they can't stay in the same hotels, eat in the same restaurants, or even use the same bathrooms. Davis performs regularly at major casinos, earning standing ovations and huge fees. Then he drives to the black section of town to sleep in inferior accommodations. This humiliation continues until Sinatra takes action. He refuses to perform at venues that won't house Davis in the same hotel. The message is clear: book us together, or don't book us at all. The Sands Hotel gives in first. They allow Davis to stay in the main building, breaking their own segregation policies rather than lose Frank Sinatra. Other venues follow. Within months, Davis enjoys the same accommodations as his white colleagues. But behind the spotlight, trouble was brewing. The Rat Pack forms in 1958. Sinatra, Davis, Dean Martin, Peter Lawford, and Joey Bishop. They become the coolest group in America, selling out Las Vegas shows and making hit movies together. But for Davis, membership comes with a painful cost. On stage, the Rat Pack creates comedy through constant jokes and insults. The audience loves the spontaneous, unscripted feel. What they don't realize is how many of those jokes target Davis's race. Sinatra calls him Smokey. Dean Martin makes comments about his skin color. The other members join in, treating Davis like the group's mascot. Rather than an equal member, Davis laughs along. He smiles at every insult, reacts like it's all part of the show. The audience roars with approval, seeing it as proof of his good humor and the group's close friendship. Behind the scenes, the reality is more complicated. Civil rights activists attack Davis publicly, calling him Uncle Tom, a black person who accepts humiliation to please white people. Newspaper articles ask why Davis allows himself to be the target of racist humor when the entire country fights against prejudice. Davis never responds to these criticisms publicly, but friends say the constant jokes wear him down. He begins to question whether he's truly an equal member of the group or just entertainment for the others. The breaking point comes in 1959. Davis appears on a Chicago radio show and makes what seems like innocent comments about Sinatra. He praises him as a mentor, but also mentions that Sinatra can be rude and disrespectful in certain situations. The comments reach Sinatra within hours. His reaction is swift and brutal. Sinatra calls Davis using language that witnesses describe as racist and furious. He immediately fires Davis from their upcoming movie, Never So Few, replacing him without explanation. For months, every door Sinatra controls closes to Davis. No Rat Pack performances, no movie roles, no joint appearances. Davis finds himself suddenly cut off from the career opportunities that Sinatra's friendship had provided. Davis tries everything to repair the relationship. He writes letters apologizing. He sends intermediaries with messages of regret. He attempts to meet in person. Sinatra refuses all contact. The entertainment industry watches nervously. Davis built his mainstream success largely through association with Sinatra. Without that protection, his career faces serious danger. Davis later admits he said things he shouldn't have said. But he also reveals something telling about their relationship. "I know who's in charge, and I know where I stand." This sentence exposes the real power dynamic. Despite their friendship, despite years of support and shared success, Sinatra holds ultimate control. Davis, no matter how talented or successful, must be careful about expressing opinions that might anger his protector. The feud continues for months. Davis performs alone, earning less money and facing smaller venues. The Rat Pack continues without him, though audiences notice his absence. Finally, Dean Martin and Peter Lawford intervene as mediators. They convince Sinatra to allow Davis back before filming begins on Ocean's 11. Davis returns, but their relationship has changed forever. The easy familiarity disappears, replaced by careful distance. Davis understands that his position in the group depends entirely on Sinatra's approval. Peter Lawford later says, "This period revealed Sinatra at his most demanding and Davis at his most vulnerable." The incident proves that their friendship, while real, exists within clear boundaries that Davis crosses at his own risk. Would this be the end, or just another turning point? The 1960s bring unexpected opportunities for both men to prove their friendship means more than entertainment industry politics. Civil rights activism sweeps America, and both Sinatra and Davis choose sides, but they do it quietly, through actions rather than speeches. In 1961, Sinatra organizes a benefit concert for Martin Luther King Jr. at Carnegie Hall. This is verified fact. Newspaper records document the event and its unprecedented mainstream entertainment support for civil rights. Davis performs alongside other major artists, helping raise crucial funds for the movement. More importantly, the concert sends a message to the entertainment industry. Supporting civil rights is no longer career suicide. Behind the scenes, both men pressure Las Vegas venues to hire black employees and end service segregation. When the Sands Hotel refuses entry to a black couple, Sinatra stops his show mid-performance and demands policy changes. The hotel complies immediately rather than lose its biggest draw. Davis witnesses this moment but says nothing publicly. Years later, he reveals its impact. "Frank didn't have to tell me anything. I saw him do it." But their most surprising test comes through politics. Both men campaign enthusiastically for John F. Kennedy's presidential campaign in 1960. Sinatra uses his Hollywood connections to organize fundraisers and endorsements. Davis performs at campaign events, helping Kennedy connect with black voters. When Kennedy wins, both expect to celebrate at the inauguration. Then Davis marries white actress Mae Britt. The interracial marriage creates controversy, especially in southern states where such unions remain illegal. Kennedy's advisors panic. They cancel Davis's inauguration performance without explanation, fearing the image might damage the new president's political standing with Southern Democrats. Davis is devastated. He helped elect Kennedy, only to be excluded from the celebration because of his wife's race. Here's where Sinatra surprises everyone. He gradually distances himself from the Kennedy administration. While he doesn't make public statements, sources close to both men say Sinatra never forgives Kennedy for the treatment of Davis. Their friendship with the president cools noticeably. Sinatra, who once bragged about his White House connections, rarely mentions Kennedy again. This moment reveals something crucial about Sinatra's character. When forced to choose between political advantage and loyalty to Davis, he chooses loyalty. He doesn't make speeches or demands apologies, he simply withdraws his support. Davis never publicly discusses the inauguration incident, but the message is clear. When it matters most, Sinatra stands with his friend rather than with power. The 1970s and 80s test their friendship in new ways. Both men age, their voices losing power, their steps slowing. The entertainment world changes around them, leaving them as representatives of an earlier era. Sinatra switches from Democrat to Republican, becoming quieter on racial issues. Davis continues supporting civil rights causes, sometimes creating awkward moments between them. In 1972, Davis causes controversy by publicly hugging President Richard Nixon at a campaign event. The black community attacks him harshly, calling him a sellout for supporting a president they see as hostile to civil rights. Sinatra's advice is simple and direct: just live with your choices, no judgment, no political lecture, just friendship accepting difficult decisions. Their bond faces its final test in 1987. Dean Martin's son dies in a plane crash, devastating their old Rat Pack brother. Davis is fighting laryngeal cancer, weakened by months of treatment. Sinatra battles his own health problems, But when the opportunity arises for a reunion tour with Liza Minnelli, both men agree. Critics call it the last Rat Pack reunion, a chance to see legends perform together one final time. Their voices are weaker now, their movements less graceful, but something deeper remains. The connection forged 46 years earlier over a shared sandwich. Audiences sense they're witnessing history. These performances aren't about perfect vocals or flawless choreography. They're about two men honoring decades of friendship, standing together until they can barely stand at all. May 16, 1990, Sammy Davis Jr. dies at age 64, his voice silenced by cancer. The news breaks across America. Tributes pour in from entertainers, politicians, and fans. Davis is remembered as one of the most gifted performers in American history, a man who broke barriers and changed the entertainment industry forever. Frank Sinatra's reaction speaks louder than any tribute. He cancels all performances for the week and flies immediately to California. At the funeral, he doesn't just attend, he serves as pallbearer, helping carry his friend's casket. When asked to speak, Sinatra, a man famous for thousands of words sung and spoken, offers just 11. It's hard to sum up a friendship of more than 40 years in a few words. I wish the world could have known Sammy the way I did. These words contain no apologies for past conflicts, no explanations of their complicated relationship, no responses to decades of rumors and speculation, just acknowledgement of something private, personal, and real. 8 years later, on May 14, 1998, almost exactly 8 years after Davis's death, Frank Sinatra dies at age 82. Their friendship, which began with a shared sandwich and survived 50 years of triumph and heartbreak, finally ends. The friendship between Frank Sinatra and Sammy Davis Jr. changes American entertainment forever. Their partnership proves that talent can overcome prejudice, but only when protected by power, willing to take risks. Davis opens doors for countless black performers who follow. His success in mainstream venues, his acceptance by white audiences, and his ability to command top fees create opportunities that didn't exist before. Every black entertainer who performs in Las Vegas owes something to the barriers Davis and Sinatra broke together, but their legacy goes deeper than career achievements. In 2014, Davis's daughter Tracy publishes her father's memoir. She reveals his conflicted feelings about the relationship, gratitude for opportunities, mixed with pain over the jokes and control he endured. Davis understood the bargain he made. To achieve mainstream success as a black performer in racist America, he accepted treatment that would be unthinkable today. The Rat Pack's racial humor, Sinatra's controlling behavior, and the constant need to prove his gratitude, all part of the price he paid for access to white audiences. But Tracy also reveals her father's deeper truth. He never regretted the friendship. Despite the conflicts and complications, Davis knew that Sinatra's support made his dreams possible. Music historians study their relationship as a turning point in American entertainment. Before Sinatra championed Davis, black performers remained largely segregated. After their partnership succeeded, integration became inevitable. Fellow entertainers remember them differently. Some focus on the barrier-breaking achievements. Others question whether Davis sacrificed too much dignity for access to white success. Both perspectives contain truth. Modern civil rights leaders see their friendship as complicated but important. It shows how progress happens messily, through individual relationships rather than perfect political statements. Entertainment industry executives point to them as proof that talent plus powerful advocacy can overcome systematic barriers. Their success encourages investment in diverse performers and integrated audiences. But perhaps their most important legacy is personal rather than professional. They prove that genuine friendship can exist across racial lines, even when complicated by power imbalances and social pressure. Their relationship wasn't perfect, but it was real. In an era when racial tension still divides America, their story offers hope. Not the naive hope that friendship automatically solves prejudice, but the mature hope that people can choose loyalty over convenience, respect over reputation. Their friendship reminds us that progress happens one relationship at a time, one decision at a time, one moment of courage at a time. Two men, one sandwich. 50 years of friendship that changed American entertainment forever. Frank Sinatra and Sammy Davis Jr. never set out to make history. They simply chose loyalty when it was dangerous, friendship when it was complicated, and respect when the world offered neither. Their story isn't perfect. Real friendships never are. It's messy, painful, and sometimes disappointing. but it's also powerful, transformative, and ultimately beautiful. At Davis's funeral, Sinatra could have said many things. He could have apologized for past conflicts. He could have explained their complicated relationship. He could have defended himself against decades of rumors. Instead, he offered something more valuable than explanations: recognition. I wish the world could have known Sammy the way I did. 11 words that acknowledge something private, something real, something that belonged only to them. In our world of instant judgment and public scrutiny, their friendship reminds us that the most meaningful relationships happen away from cameras and microphones. They develop through small acts of kindness, moments of support during crisis, and the choice to stand together when standing alone would be easier. Davis and Sinatra prove that friendship isn't about perfection, it's about persistence. It's about showing up when it matters, staying loyal when it's hard, and choosing each other despite the cost. Sometimes the most powerful statement isn't an explanation. Sometimes it's simply acknowledgement that what you shared together was worth protecting, worth preserving, and worth remembering. That's friendship, that's legacy, that's love.